And Citrus TV's Final Four preview rolls along. Now we're joined by Lenn Robbins of the New York Post. Lenn, thanks for joining us on our Final Four preview. And our first question is about Rutgers. The athletic director, Tim Bernetti, steps down today. How does that change this story now for the Scarlet Knights?
Well, I actually hope it starts to put some closure on it. Look, I know Tim Pernetti pretty well. He's a father. He has his own kids. He is not a callous man, and part of me respects the fact that he looked at the situation that he had and he said, let me see if I can rehabilitate this guy. I think clearly it was the wrong decision because an athletic director's job is to provide a safe, healthy, nurturing environment for your student athletes. That has to be your credo. And he violated that. I mean, at the end of the day, trying to rehabilitate a coach on players' time was not the right call to make, and I think sadly he's paid a price for it.
Now on to why we're in Atlanta, the Final Four. Syracuse plays Trey Burke, and he's had a pretty busy morning. He's already gotten some accolades so far. If you're going to beat a Syracuse zone, you do it from behind the arc. How can Trey Burke do that for Michigan?
Well, I think he can, and I think that this Michigan team matches up very well against the 2-3. I think this is the biggest challenge that Syracuse is going to face because you mentioned Trey Burke, and this guy can start shooting from Buckhead. I mean, that's the kind of range that he has. He can really pull this zone open. And with a guy like Lenn Robbins III, they have someone who they can put at the high post and distribute and hit that foul line jumper. And then they have the McGarry kid who they can stick down low. So pick your poison now if you're Syracuse. Do you extend and try and come out on Hardaway and Trey Burke? Or do you pack it in and let those guys, take their shots? I think it's a bad matchup for Syracuse. I'm not saying they're not going to win the game. I think equally as important, maybe more important is, can Syracuse please stop going on these 5, 6, 7, 8-minute coffee breaks on offense? Because if you do that against Michigan, you're not going to win.
Mm-hmm. Is Michigan finally the team that knocks Syracuse out? They've been hot since the Big East tournament started.
I believe that they are. I mean, look, I picked Michigan to get to the Final Four. I thought that offensively they were as good a team as there is in the country. I think that their offensive strengths are the Achilles heel of the 2-3 zone. And like I said, conversely, I think this is really important. Syracuse has gotten through just about every game in this tournament, with the exception of Montana, with having some lapse on offense. You can't do that against Michigan because Michigan is going to keep scoring. I mean, let's remember, they were down, 14 with, I think, 6 minutes to go, if that, against Kansas, and they kept scoring the ball. So there are going to be times in this game, if Syracuse goes into one of those droughts, they go AWOL on offense, they're going to look up and suddenly the deficit is going to be 10, 12, and they're not the kind of offensive team that can make that up.
And to the other side of the bracket, Louisville head coach Rick Pitino, he will be inducted into the College Basketball Hall of Fame.
Oh, you got this exclusively? You're on it? You know it?
Yeah.
All right, okay.
How great is it for him for all this to be coming together, especially with the Kevin Ware injury?
Oh, I think it's fantastic. I think it's long overdue. I mean, this was the first college coach to take 3 different programs to a Final Four, one of them being Providence. Hey, when's the last time Providence has been in a Final Four? If he had not left to go to the NBA, he arguably would be right there with Jim Boeheim and Mike Krzyzewski in terms of wins. The way that he develops players, the way that he develops teams, I mean, really, if his resume is not a Hall of Fame resume, then I don't know what is.
Great. Lenn Robbins, New York Post, thank you very much for your time. And our Final Four preview rolls along right here for Citrus TV.